Host Nate Bigelow and my co-host Mike Bayles. How's everybody doing today, Mike?
It's a beautiful morning.
Absolutely.
How you doing, Nate?
It's getting hot here in Texas, man. Sun was beating down at soccer this morning.
Well, about time you caught up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's humid. You know that y'all don't deal with that humidity over there, so it's definitely an issue that it's really home to here. Not even all of Texas, just Houston in general, because we're so close to the water. It's
but if it was 115 and humid, I think I'd move.
Oh, absolutely. That's oh god. I couldn't even imagine. But yeah, so we've had a pretty interesting week this week, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I honestly don't even know where to start right now, but you know, we can always start with it's kind of becoming a segment at this point of we gotta come up with some kind of name of Democrat hypocrisy of the week.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right? I mean, their entire mantra for the last 4 years has been, what is that silly saying they always say? Nobody's above the law unless it's somebody on their side, right?
It is biting them in the tuchus right now.
Because finally, and this has been something that I've been really on top of, is Pam Bondi is finally starting to do something with Kash Patel and arresting people. Mike, you want to tell us a little bit about what happened this week?
Well, there's a couple of things that happened. So we have a judge out of New Mexico who was arrested for harboring an illegal alien. And not only was that judge arrested, that judge was also disbarred by the New Mexico Supreme Court.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear about the disbarring, but yeah, his name is Juan Aquino. He was an individual that wasn't just harboring an illegal alien. He was harboring a foreign terrorist gang member of Tren de Aragua. I always have a hard time saying the last one. I don't know why. But that is a gang that comes from the Venezuelan country that has terrorized Venezuela for decades now. And for some reason, they've come this way. They're also the notorious individuals that took over that complex in Colorado and a couple other places up in Dallas as well. So this is a known issue with this gang that is absolutely just terrorizing America in a lot of different areas. But again, is been terrorizing all of Venezuela for the longest of times. And this judge went out of his way to literally take him into his own home. And that's just insane to me, to sit here and think that a judge, somebody that's supposed to be upholding our law, is blatantly violating it in a number of different ways. And we're going to go through some of them. But not only was that judge in New Mexico arrested, there was also another judge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin that was arrested for basically doing the same thing with an illegal who was facing criminal charges. Like criminal charges for abuse and I believe attempted murder, if I'm not remembering correctly. And she not only obstructed the ICE agents from showing where he was by improperly directing them into a different area of the courtroom, which is where they're trying to go and arrest him at, she let him out the back door of her own office.
100%. It's wild, right? That first case, they probably would have never found that man had he not been posting pictures on Facebook with the judge's weapons.
Oh, the first one, yes, with Judge Kano.
I found that. Yeah.
Right, that's the interesting part of this all. It's like, if you're going to try and be an illegal alien, especially if you're affiliated with a gang that's been labeled a terrorist organization by our federal government, maybe don't like blatantly put yourself out on social media with your whereabouts and acting like a gang member, so that way, you draw attention to yourself. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, it's quite wild. And that judge is also facing, him and his wife are facing charges of tampering with evidence.
Right. Oh, tell us a little bit about that.
So they were looking for the phones that the illegal alien had been using, and the judge and his wife admitted to destroying said evidence.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, it's not only just tampering with the illegal, or not tampering, but with harboring a fugitive, which violates a number of penal codes here in the United States. I mean, you got 8 USC 1320, 24 or 34.
So
13.
There's a list of codes. I have several codes written down here that both these judges could be charged with.
Yeah, let's go over them, because obviously, apparently to everybody on social media that's a leftist, they don't understand the law. They're like, oh, they didn't break the law. I mean, I quite literally clipped a tweet that was put out today by a larger creator or content person, whatever you want to call them on Twitter. I don't know what they're really called on that. But at first I thought this was satire because of how blatantly ignorant it is to just basic civics. But the number of people that were agreeing with it under it just blew my mind. I'm like, okay, maybe this guy is absolutely serious. It's 3 lines. The first line says, "You are not legally allowed to arrest judges." Huh?
What?
The second line, it gets worse progressively. It says, "Judges cannot break laws."
What?
Okay. And then this is the cherry on top. This is why I say there needs to be a civics test when people, for them to be allowed to vote. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, that's unconstitutional. I'm like, I don't care. I would rather be unconstitutional at this point than have people like this voting in our elections. It says they make laws. So the full tweet in its entirety says, "We are not legally allowed to arrest judges. Judges cannot break laws. They make laws."
That's just wild, right? That is wild. And it's not unconstitutional to incorporate a test, right? Voting has to do with states' rights, so it's dependent on the state. As far as the federal constitution goes, it's not unconstitutional to incorporate a civics test.
Right. I mean, honestly, I've been saying and advocating for it for a while, and I mean, it's just, we have so many people that don't know the basic divisions between the 3 branches of government here. To say that a judge, in any capacity, including the Supreme Court, creates laws is below 9th grade civics class. Like, you learn that stuff in elementary. Legislative, laws, executive, police, enforcement, all that. Judges, they uphold the law through judgment. Like this is, like, there's, like, I swear there was a kid song when I was a kid. I can't remember it now, but I swear there was a song that we learned that went along with the 3 branches of government. It's like, it's the basic things like that people still are not understanding or forgetting. And yet we have grown adults out here voting, making decisions about who's going to lead us, and don't know how our government works.
Yeah, I think that song was on Schoolhouse Rock. But, yeah, just to go over a few of those codes that each of these judges may or may not have broken.
Yeah.
So we have 8 U.S. Code 1324, which is bringing in and harboring certain aliens.
That's both of them.
We have, 8 U.S. Code 1325, improper entry by alien. Now, that includes facilitating an illegal entry. So,
AOC.
8 U.S. Code 1326, reentry of removed alien. 8 U.S. Code 1327, aiding or assisting certain aliens to enter. 8 U.S. Code 1322, bringing in aliens without proper documents. Then 8 U.S. Code 1323, unlawful bringing of aliens to U.S. And then you get into the Title 18 codes, the big criminal violations. So Title 8 mostly has to do with immigration. Title 18 is your big criminal violations.
Right.
So,
and I know we've been talking about a couple of them this week, but I don't know if you have any more information on them.
I have a few Title 18 codes.
Yeah, talk about it, because obviously somebody needs to know this. Because there's millions of Americans out here thinking that judges can't even break the law. And they don't even know what it is.
18 U.S. Code 371, which is conspiracy to commit offense or fraud the United States. 18 U.S. Code 1001, making false statements. 18 U.S. Code 2, aiding and abetting. Here we go. 18 U.S. Code 922, firearms possession by an illegal alien. 18 U.S. Code 1546, fraud and misuse of visas, permits, and other documents. 18 U.S. Code 371 or 1349, conspiracy or attempt related to visa fraud. 18 U.S. Code 1956 and 57, money laundering and financial transactions. So if they tie any type of transactions to those judges, that's the New Mexico judge, violation right there. And then you have a really famous one. Everybody knows the term RICO.
Mm-hmm.
18 U.S. Code 1961 to 1968, which is the RICO. So racketeering, what have you, tying several different organizations together.
Right, and there's actually 3 more. I don't think you mentioned any of these that are even bigger than that would apply more specifically to what's her name, Elizabeth Duggan out of Wisconsin.
Oh, Hannah Dugan.
Yeah, no, I think her name is Elizabeth Dugan, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but I believe that's what it is. But 18 U.S. Code 111 has to do with assaulting, resisting, or keyword impeding certain officers or employees, which includes federal ICE agents. That in itself carries a felony. Ooh. And then also, we have 18 U.S. Code 1510, obstruction of criminal investigation. I'm pretty sure trying to allow, to facilitate an illegal alien from evading the ICE, so where they can't do their investigation of whether or not he's legally here or not. Yeah, that's another felony. And then also 18 U.S. Code 371, conspiracy to commit offense or to defraud the United States, which is what the New Mexico judge was doing, and harboring his alien and trying to basically evade federal prosecution for this immigration proceedings for this individual.
Yeah, I mean it's just wild. That one with Judge Hannah Dugan. I just looked at it. Is
Hannah? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's wild to be notified that ICE is in your building, to go outside into the hallway in front of the mother of the victims that were beaten and attempted to be unalive, right?
Mm-hmm.
To yell at ICE officials that they need a separate warrant and to consult the Chief Justice, and then go back into the courtroom, direct the illegal alien and his attorney to enter through your chambers and out your private exit.
Wild. And yet the left will sit here until they're blue in their face saying, for their mantra for the last 4 years, nobody's above the law, until it comes to somebody that might be an activist judge that's acting well outside of the law, not knowing what it is, and trying to circumvent the processes of the executive branch, which we already know through the Supreme Court cases that district judges and lower, which is what these guys would be, and federal judges and lower, I should say, don't have the ability to impede the executive branch from doing what they do, which is immigration. All things immigration. Right? When it comes to...
it's a balance.
Right.
Right. And no judge from the lowest magistrate judge to the top Supreme Court judge have the ability to limit the constitutionally described duties of either branches.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is that I've had so many conversations with individuals about the differences in the courts. The problem is, again, this goes back to civics class, right? Just basic civics. people don't understand that immigration courts are not judicial branch courts. They don't operate the same. So this whole precious due process is not the same as what you think it is, because you don't even know what it falls under. For those that aren't aware, the immigration courts fall solely under the Department of Justice, which, what branch does that fall under, Mike?
Well, so it's a little interesting, right? Because so immigration and these courts do fall under the DOJ. However, these judges are employed by the Department of Justice, which makes them Article 1 judges. And these are Article 1 proceedings occurring under an Article 2 leadership.
Right. So all the authority, which we already know because of Supreme Court cases, right? We already know that the authority of immigration falls under the executive branch. They don't have any say outside of the executive branch outside of these immigration courts. Regular court judges like Juan Cano, and you said her name was Ms. Duggan, as I'm just going with that. They don't have any say about this. They don't have jurisdiction on these cases outside of the criminality of what that other gentleman was. But the fact that she's literally aiding and abetting not only an illegal alien. Think about that. Like, we've got all that wrapped up, right? We've talked about that. She's also aiding and abetting an individual that's being charged outside of his immigration issue with, I believe it was attempt of murder, along with assault, battery, all this other stuff. That's like, as a judge, regardless of if it's an illegal alien or an American citizen, that's not, you're aiding and abetting a criminal. That's why he was at your court in the first place.
100%. And, everybody's freaking out about this, but this isn't the first time a judge was arrested. There was another, this is the second time in Trump's term, right? In his first term, there was a judge that was arrested. And I'm pretty sure that judge was disbarred.
I mean, all of them should be at this point. I mean, if you're going to break the law when you're supposed to be upholding it, how can you really judge on the law when you don't abide by it yourself?
It's really wild. I mean, Tom Homan actually made a statement on Twitter. Homan said, "I have said many times within the past few months that people could choose to support illegal immigration and not assist ICE in removing illegal aliens from our communities, but don't cross that line. If you actively impede our enforcement efforts, or if you knowingly harbor or conceal illegal aliens from ICE, you will be prosecuted. These actions are felonies." More to come.
Right. I mean, even Kash Patel, he came out almost in a way of, Kash Patel, he can sound like he's being professional, but at the same time, he's kind of like Trump. He's being professional, but also at the same time taking a jab at them by making their own statement. He came out yesterday after all of Twitter and social media blew up about, oh my gosh, Trump's being a fascist, arresting judges now. He's like, no one's above the law. Like, that's your guys' saying. Did you forget about that? It's just, it's wild to see that we're in a day and age where we're consistently seeing a majority of Americans, or a large portion, I should say, not the majority, a large portion of Americans defending people who are openly breaking the law right in front of them, and they're defending it. And that's not just these cases. We have all these other cases with the stabbing up in Dallas area and George Floyd, all of that, right? Over the last decade, it's just wild. Criminal after criminal. They were such a good boy.
Oh, it's like, did you get a chance to read the tweet by Kash Patel?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have it memorized, but I did see it yesterday.
Oh, so he posted this on Twitter right after they made the arrest of that judge.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since. But the judge's obstruction created increased danger to the public.
Right.
She's actually trying to push back and saying that she totally rejects the statements that she made an increase for the public. You actively shielded an illegal alien, a criminal, someone that not only broke the law entering the country illegally, but also broke the law and attempted to murder somebody.
Right. And here we are with two different federal judges that are being brought up on multiple charges. I don't know how many Kano is. I know it's multiple. And I know Ms. Duggan, she's got 2 federal charges, that are felony charges that she's going to be coming up against. So we're definitely going to keep you guys updated on that. But it's just believing social media, the media in general, around nonsense like this. Like, for example, a lot of people, like, if anybody's on social media and pays attention to the left, they know who Harry Sissons is, right? I know the people over our friends over in the Patriots Den know him very well as well, so they know what I'm about to say. They use articles from discredited large platforms, like Politico, for example, right? Harry Sissons put out this is what Donald Trump's doing, arresting judges. Look at the article from Politico. So I comment back at him, I was like, you mean the Political that was just called out for blatantly lying to the American people just on Thursday? You know, the one that was called out by not only Ricky Rubio, I'm sorry, did I say Ricky Rubio? Marco Rubio, not the basketball player, guys. I always do that. Marco Rubio, what was it? Also, it was Steve Witkoff and the official office of Special Envoy to the Middle East and Russia, all on Twitter. All these accounts called out Political because this week they claimed for the last several days over the week saying that, in these peace talks with Russia and Ukraine, there's discussion about having some kind of a sanction lift off of Russia if they come to the peace table. Not a single piece or shred or iota of evidence anywhere does it say that. This is coming from an anonymous source again with them, with no backing, no paper trail, no images, nothing. So much so that when Marco Rubio came out and said it was unequivocally false, this is his tweet, this is unequivocally false, neither Steve Witkoff nor I have had any conversation about lifting sanctions on Russia as part of a deal with Ukraine. This is journalistic malpractice. If Politico has an ounce of integrity, they will fully retract this piece of fiction. And yet these are the news outlets that people are using on a mass scale. I don't know how many times I've seen Politico retract or be called out blatantly for lying like this.
They all do it. They all do it. And it's actually, I don't know if you saw it, Nate, but because of all this lying and because of all these leaks and anonymous sources, quote unquote, Pam Bondi rescinded one of the previous Attorney General, Mayor Garlick, one of his policies surrounding protections of sources and when it comes to their information. So
it should be. Now,
when it comes to those anonymous sources, should the White House seek to get that source, they're going to get it. They will be able to pursue every source and piece of information news outlets use.
That is absolutely needed because honestly, Donald Trump, if anybody's watching this in government, here in Texas, Arizona, federal government, please, for the love of God, hear what I'm about to say. Donald Trump, please reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act. For the love of God, we are sick and tired of news media lying to us and being allowed to lie to us because of what Obama did during his term. And allowing the Patriot Act and certain portions of the Patriot Act to establish fake news media to being allowed without repercussion to lie to the American people openly. You need to reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act or at least write something even better. Because we're tired of it.
Yeah. 100%.
Like
And it's wild. And I sent you something. I think if old Harry Sisson hasn't started crying about it yet, the lefties, Harry said they're going to soon, and I'm predicting it. So it has to do with a deportation, and I can see it now in the headlines. 2-year-old U.S. citizen deported.
They're already on it. If you haven't opened up Twitter today, they're already on it. Harry Sissons has already posted about it, so has all the other large creators out there and podcasters and all that. Oh, they deported a 2-year-old U.S. citizen. No, they didn't. This person was not a U.S. citizen, if you actually dive into it. They were deported with their parents because they were illegally as well, right? I mean, their status was changed.
Yeah, we can get into it.
Right? If you have more information on it, I haven't even dived into it because I know for a fact when they start saying U.S. citizen was deported, I know they're full of it and they're lying somewhere.
So, this 2-year-old was born in New Orleans, right? There is no legal precedent for an illegal alien having a child on U.S. soil. That does not by law make that a U.S. citizen, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't fit the actual legal principle of just solely or of the soil, right? Just because you happen to be on United States soil and you have a baby, that doesn't mean that baby's automatically a U.S. citizen. The law doesn't work like that, right? And that's what Donald Trump was trying to clarify. Now, a 2-year-old, quote-unquote, U.S. citizen was deported to Honduras. The child's mother, who's a Honduras national, as well as the child's sister, who was also born in Honduras. The mother requested, after she was picked up by ICE, that her family stay together and that the 2-year-old child be deported with her. Now, there's some info regarding the alleged father trying to protest the deportation, but he won't provide any evidence to immigration that he's the father.
Is he a U.S. citizen? This individual claiming to be the father?
He won't provide any identification of himself at all.
Well, then send him out too. I mean, if you can't even identify yourself as an American citizen yourself, get out.
So it's wild. There's a lot of information surrounding this alleged father. Like, it's also been reported by CNN that he handed provisional custody to his U.S. born sister of the children. So, if you wanted your children, why are you assigning provisional custody to your sister? If you wanted your children, why aren't you providing immigration and customs enforcement with your identification to substantiate who you are? And if you really want your children, go be with your children.
I mean, honestly, that's the way it is. We'll definitely keep you guys updated on this because honestly, I haven't heard much about it because I know there has to be more to the story, which I've already gotten more from Mike, so thank you for that, Mike. But just to sit here and think that, just random American citizens are being deported, it's not happening, guys. It's not happening.
So that was a special request.
Right.
Even if we like play the game that children that are born of illegal aliens on U.S. soil are U.S. citizens, these children are not being deported, right? That was a request by the Honduras mother.
Which you think that they would be okay with because their whole mantra during Trump's first administration was, he's separating families at the border. But I thought you guys were... It's the blatant just flip-flopping all the time for me.
I mean, wouldn't we rather just deport them together as a family unit instead of putting them in cages like Obama did?
Oh, wow.
I mean, we've only deported about 250,000, a little over 250,000 illegal aliens in this country. And Obama deported over 6 million.
That's right. But talking about another court case, though, a whole another issue on that, trying to get into a different area here, I see that when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, this is a big one, because honestly, we're still calling you out, Pam Bondi. Where are the files? Where are the documents, guys? I will hold you accountable until you release them, because we are not like the left.
Nate and I talked about this a little earlier this week. We don't care about JFK.
No.
That happened 60 years ago.
We already know the government did it. Y'all ain't gonna do nothing about it. We already know.
We don't care about MLK. That again, 60 years ago.
Right.
We want meow.
Actually. And what's more intriguing about this is that Jeffrey Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, has actually passed away via suicide. I.e., that means she got Clinton-did, guys. She got Clinton-did. You don't just commit suicide. And too many times are people committing suicide or dying in mysterious accidents around these people.
Imagine that. We live in a time where the popular phrase, you got Clinton.
I've been saying it for the last few years. I mean, since 2015, when everything was starting to go down with Benghazi, which hopefully we'll be seeing more on that here soon too. But
and it's saying that Nate and I, we love living. We have no. If there ever comes a time where you don't see us anymore, we would never ever take our own life.
Never in my life would I take my own life. It's against my religion.
Never ever.
But no, in all seriousness, it is against my faith and my belief to take my life. So if I ever commit suicide, yeah, somebody Clinton did me. I'm just gonna put it that way. But I mean, it's so many fun. It's so funny that so many people around this situation just surprisingly come up unalived, or you never see them again. It's like
unalived, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we're on YouTube too, so so we gotta keep the language right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, like anything close to this list, these documents, the self-deletion button is just right there, and it's being pressed frequently.
In a very odd pattern. And it's always very specific people, too. Like, key people that would break a case open kind of situation.
Yeah.
So.
Like, it's wild. And that and she was actually a victim of Epstein and Prince Charles.
Yep. That's probably why she was actually, because Prince Charles still, We're not going to talk about that because, we already know that the royal family is willing to unalive their own family, so,
Yeah, she got Alice in Wonderland.
And for those that don't know why I'm saying unalived, it's a mockery of TikTok and social media because they don't let us say the word murder. So, because it's a no-no word, I guess, but it's just the censorship we've been talking about for several months now.
Oh, you want to talk about censorship, Nate? What happened to us this week on a page?
Oh my lord! Y'all don't believe us. Y'all don't believe us. I swear y'all don't believe us when it comes to the censorship of social media, especially TikTok. Me and Mike have our podcast page. And I created a page on TikTok for our podcast. I haven't posted on it because it wasn't really getting traction very much on it in probably, 2-3 months, Mike? I haven't made a video on it. I think the last video we made was closest to the election, honestly, or just shortly after.
But we do go on it and, like videos,
right?
To make sure the account stays active,
right? And never commented, and never had a comment banned, never had a video banned, never had any kind of violation. But guess what? Somehow it got banned. No reason, no option to appeal. Doesn't tell me why it was banned. It just says your account has been permanently banned. Download your data. And y'all don't want to believe that there is a censorship regime coming after conservative creators or conservative voices in general on social media. Like, I know Facebook has riled it back because, Mark Zuckerberg has kind of bent the knee to Donald Trump because he wanted, a little bit of the kickbacks that he's been promising these mega corporations. But we still have an issue with a lot of these platforms silencing individuals on multiple platforms.
Mm-hmm. Like you have creators with a combined. We'll use our friend LJ. We'll add him into this. 3 creators who have a combined following of almost 200,000, and altogether, maybe on average 600 views a video.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and this information, like this regime of censorship, has stemmed even further past COVID and back into Trump's first, but primarily it just ramped up during the COVID period, and we're getting even more information about COVID as it comes out, and I told you guys this would happen. Mike, I don't even know if you know this yet because I haven't shared it with you. So there was a study, an independent peer-reviewed study, I believe it was in Greece, about America, not in Greece. It was a peer-reviewed study that was done here, only 7 hospitals, only 7. In those studies, 24.5% of the COVID deaths were not actually directly because of COVID. Which, what did we say the last time we were on the episode, Mike? I gave an example of my own mother, right? Almost 25% of the people they claimed died from COVID didn't directly kill. They didn't die from COVID, and yet people are still out here trying to say that there wasn't a hoax, that they weren't ramping up numbers, that they didn't, do this or do that. They didn't falsely put on anybody's death certificate, even though I have proof. My own mother. But yet, here we are again, with even further proof, we were telling you, this 1 million, or 1.1 million deaths or whatever, that they claimed to happen under COVID years here in America, it's not true. It never happened. 1 million people did not die here in America from COVID.
Well, even the CDC's own data says that. You can look at the CDC's own data, and you can see that majority of those that died primarily due to their underlying medical conditions, mostly having to do with old age and obesity.
Right. And just mysteriously, things like the flu, pneumonia, these top killers every single year that have an annual death rate of 60 to 100,000 each, they just disappeared.
Listen, as someone who works in a hospital every day, you know what we can't test the differences for?
What's that?
Flu and COVID.
Well, that's the thing. The whole thing with the PCR test, right? That was the biggest thing. Oh, you gotta get a PCR test to see if you got COVID. Y'all do realize that those tests will come up positive for 52 different viruses, including the basic flu or cold?
They can't differentiate.
They called us conspiracy theorists, Mike. They call us every name in the book. Believe the experts.
We were you and I. They tried so hard to get us off social media because, especially when they targeted us individually, and then we met, and then they really ramped up because Nate had this binder, this big, binders on top of binders of just information related to COVID and studies, and it was wild. And then I started reading the released Pfizer documents, thousands of documents, and understanding that in Pfizer's own documents that it was citing that natural immunity was better and longer lasting and more durable.
I said for the longest time, and science is proving it to us, doing the shutdowns the way we did it absolutely exacerbated it. Now, I'm not contradicting myself when I say that. When earlier I said that there wasn't 1 million people that died, because there wasn't. Were there people dying from COVID? Sure, absolutely, there was. But in all reality, it was nowhere near 1.1 million, and it did exacerbate it worse than what it would have been if they didn't shut down the way they did, because herd immunity is an actual thing. Now, I understand the hysteria around not understanding the virus, as they claim, even though we know for a fact now that they created it themselves, that it wasn't as deadly as what it is. And people also know, anybody in the science community will sit here and they'll lie to you if they don't say exactly what I'm about to say. When viruses like COVID, which is basically a cold type virus, right? A rhinovirus, it's one of those types. When it mutates, they made a big to-do about it. Oh my God, it's mutated to the ninja virus now, or whatever they called it back then. There was one called the ninja variant. They just got wild with the omega variant. Viruses don't get more deadly when they mutate. That's science, guys. They get more contractable, like more easier to spread, but they lose their volatility of mortality as they mutate because they become weaker. They adjust to people's immune systems so that way they can attract themselves to their immune system so that they can live longer, but they become less deadly. That's just how they work. Read a science book, guys. But yeah, every time a new variant came out, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
And make sure you stay in your homes, away from natural sunlight. Make sure
6 feet apart, even though there's no science to back it.
I was telling people, go outside, get all the vitamin D you can. So whenever I get a little scratchy, I'm just talking about a little scratchy. I take 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day.
Yeah, and if you're feeling sick during the summertime, go outside and tan for 10, 15 minutes a day for the next couple days, and you'll be perfectly fine. Honestly, because in all reality, you're going to get the vitamin D from the sun, and the increased temperature from the sun that gives to your body, like going into a sauna, which they always say, go into a sauna when you're feeling like cold or flu-y symptomed, because it raises your body temperature and allows your body to actually fight it better because it doesn't have to work overtime to raise your temperature by itself. You have external forces. Like, it's just basic stuff like this that they were intentionally lying to us about and not giving the full information, trying to act as if it was some kind of world pandemic. Like, don't get me wrong. There were people dying from it. There were. But not to the extent of millions and millions like they claimed. It just wasn't happening.
And I could tell you just by incorporating the sauna after my cardiovascular exercise, it makes a world of difference. Right. Increases your blood flow. It basically allows your body to detox a little bit.
And talking about health and wellness, though, Mike.
If you're not doing...
Oh, sorry. You kind of broke up
there. No, go back into what you were saying about
health. No, yeah, you kind of broke up there. Sorry about that. But talking about health and wellness, right? We've known, everybody agrees that our food industry here in America is absolute trash. Poison on top of poison in our food, right? So, RFK this week did something that is long overdue in the fact that he banned artificial food dyes. And he's allowing it to go until 2026, which is a whole nother issue I have. It's like, hey guys, I know you're poisoning Americans, but I'm going to give you another year and a half to do it. But that, like I said, that's a separate opinion. However, he did do it. And the left is losing their mind over it. Like, how much more clear do we have to be that these
they're losing their mind over red dye?
Yes. They're literally mad that he's eliminating food dyes that poison us, that hurt our adrenal glands, that affect behavioral issues, all of this.
Wait a second. I thought the Republicans were the party of rednecks. Why are the Democrats getting mad over the loss of Mountain Dew?
I don't get it, Mike. I don't get it. But also, like, looking at it from another hand, I can't even put together thoughts on why they would have an issue with this. Because usually the left is like avocado toast and gluten-free and dairy-free vegan BS, all that stuff, right? It's like, whatever. Like, that's another segment for the hypocrisy show, I guess you could call it. But it's also, looking at it from RFK's standpoint, it's like, Why are you giving them another year and a half to do this? They already make the products without it. Because they sell it in every other country but America. So they have the operations to create the product without the poison. And yet you're still giving them another year and a half to actually poison us. Knowingly poison us. And yet we're sitting here arguing about it in the sense that we are being poisoned. And we've been saying it. Again, we're being called a conspiracy theorist over all of this until real research came out about food dyes over the last decade or so. And here we are actually getting rid of something that's bad for you.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of scared if they ever ban Mountain Dew. You know my
Lord.
wife.
Oh, Lord. Just so and the reason why he says that, everybody, is because his wife is addicted.
Yeah, so if I suddenly move to Texas, Mountain Dew is banned.
You hear the expression. I know this is probably not a good expression, but the expression "wake and bake." She has that philosophy with Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah, she I'll give credit what credit is due. She has tapered down a lot.
Oh, nice.
She was up there as far as like quantity.
I know when I got there every morning, the first thing I heard woke me up.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because the Democrats are crying about their Mountain Dew, but we're the party of rednecks. Make it make sense.
Yeah. So for like the last 15 minutes, we're gonna give you guys.
It's funny the hypocrisy you said, right?
Right.
You have something else funny I saw was you have AOC and Bernie Sanders campaigning all over the place, and they're the climate crisis whiners, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we find? We find them getting off a private jet.
Jeez,
if you really cared about the climate, wouldn't you I don't know, use an electric vehicle?
Yeah, it's never ceasing. It's never ceasing. I've always said that. But for the last 15 minutes or so, we want to give you guys some kind of, updates on everything going on. I know a lot of people are still, paying attention to the stock market. Like it's, oh my God, we're all gonna die. The economy's terrible. I'm still getting comments on a video that I made 6 weeks ago. When egg prices were down, gas prices were down, the stock market was going back up, and guess what? We're still there, guys, and they'll still tell you till you're blue in the face, none of this is happening. Even though you can look at the stock market right now, it ended yesterday over 40,000. You got China on the ropes here. They said, what was it, on Thursday or so, they talked about how Xi Jinping had called Donald Trump, and they talked about lifting China exempts the United States on the 125% tariff that they put on it on numerous products. That was Thursday or Friday, and then yesterday evening, Donald Trump also talked about how during that call that he had with Xi Jinping, they had made over 200 different trade deals. So they're working on those products. That has to do with probably the tariff situation. But then also it's the fact that they're in communications that's caused a huge uptick in the market. But also another big topic was that the referendums for the deal with India was finalized. The U.S. Vice President I almost said Mike Pence. J.D. Vance went to India and met with the Prime Minister, and they discussed the tariffs and the whole trade deal and everything went into place to where now we have a trade deal, like an official trade deal, along with 17 other countries, right? We have actual proposals from those countries, not us proposing. They have presented an official proposal to us. So we have 18 right now. And they're some of our biggest, like Japan, Vietnam, a lot of these different places where we get clothing and electronics and stuff like that. Taiwan was one of them as well. So definitely going to see an uptick from that. And that's what we saw on Thursday afternoon when it shot up to about 39 and a half, almost 40,000 on the Dow at that point when it was at like almost 37.
Watch this week.
Oh yeah, this week's gonna be huge.
Wait for this week.
Right.
So stop with the narrative of this is a trade war. No, this is trade talks.
Right. Absolutely, because we're already seeing a huge. What was the biggest thing that they talked about China, Mike? iPhones and phones in general, right? What happened just yesterday? Apple announced last night that they're moving their operations of the iPhone to India, which we just made a trade deal with, all at the same time, supposedly. And yet, people are still going to sit here and say that, oh, Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. You know, the U.S. government doesn't know what they're doing when it comes to this. But trust the experts, right?
Imagine that. Do you think people will stop complaining if he gets gas under $2?
I mean, and that's another thing. I have people in my comment section always be like, "Oh, gas is $5 here." I'm like, not everybody lives in California, guys. Okay, here in Texas, it's roughly $2.50 to about $2.70. I don't know what world y'all live in.
It's about. I think I pay just over $3.
Oh wow, that's a little bit more than I thought. Yeah, as you go west, more everything's more expensive. We already know that. It's like if y'all don't want expensive stuff, first of all, stop voting for you're voting for over there. That might help. You know, just kind of a duh moment. But also, don't live in the West. Everybody knows everything's more expensive over there.
Also, the 2026 midterms, there are 13 Democrat seats that are up for election. I believe 6 of them are retiring.
Right.
So, to those states, put them right. We got to vote red.
Right.
Put a Republican in there.
I was just about to get to all that, so thank you for bringing it up, Mike. Yeah, it's going to be a huge overhaul if we can get the right candidates in the right position and start the groundwork now. And I know Scott Presler, which if you're not familiar with who Scott Presler is, he's basically the individual that delivered Pennsylvania this last election. He was the one that went to the Amish communities and registered over 180,000 Amish individuals to vote, and they all voted Donald Trump, which is basically what won it because he won by like 150,000 votes in Pennsylvania. So thank you, Scott Presler, for doing your hard work. And I know you were working in Wisconsin and you're working on New Jersey, but these elections for Senate, I've never expressed it more to anybody on a repeated basis. Yes, the president is important, don't get me wrong, but Congress is more important because in my opinion, it's not even my opinion. Constitutionally, they have more power than the president. They can create more damage or do more help to Americans. So these are vital, and we could the conservatives could easily get a majority in the Senate with this.
100%.
Super majority.
You want to stop paying a lot of taxes? Congress. You want a higher living wage? For all of you progressives, you want a livable wage, quote unquote? Congress.
Right. And these are the individuals that also review the trade deals, right? So if these trade deals fall through, you gotta point at Congress, and I'll be the first to because we have the majority in the Congress right now on both sides. So if these trade deals start to fall through because of them, yeah, I'm gonna be up on them for sure. But taking a look. One of the more important ones, well, there's actually 2 very important ones here in the state of Texas just because we're in Texas, right? We have Ken Paxton, our Attorney General, who I definitely endorse. The Legislative Lounge endorses fully Ken Paxton in his run for the U.S. Senate to overhaul John Cornyn's seat, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's John Cornyn or Ken Paxton, either one of them, that's who is going to be, that's who's going to be in the seat. It's one of those 2. But having that replace John Cornyn would be huge because John Cornyn is an absolute rhino. Everything about him is, wanting to make deals and benefit himself. He never actually has shown true conservatism in his voting. He's always been right down the middle kind of a person when it comes to it, and that's not what we want here in Texas. But a more important one is the state of Georgia. because the individual that's senator there right now, I believe, is a retiring Democrat. And there's conversations about two individuals that are really big names that are thinking about running for it. Now, the party in general, along with the other person, the secondary person, wants this first person, which is Governor Kemp, because he's coming up on term limits for governorship in the state of Georgia. They are pushing for Kemp to actually run for that seat. Now, I don't know if I really...
Same time, you would see us get banned from every...
Oh, yeah. I would never make it to a committee. I would never be able... I tell you that right now.
like Nate sees me make leftists crash out with a very monotone voice.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm joking, clearly, but at the same time, I would be very vocal in a sense, but obviously I would take more tact to it as I'm sitting here telling Marjorie Taylor Greene and Macy and all of them to take more tact. I would too, but I agree with them cutting through the BS and honestly calling all this out. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. Pay attention to who's running in your state for Senate in 2026 because it is vital. If we can get a supermajority in the Senate, we would be able to get so much done. If you voted for Donald Trump and you want his agenda to get through, that's how you get it through because we can push past the filibuster and all of that. But
100%.
We thank you guys for joining us today. We've got a lot to cover, and we weren't able to get to all of it, unfortunately. But again, tune in with us on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, all of that. And that way we can, go over more because we usually tend to talk about a little bit more on that because we're a little bit not time sensitive on that. But we thank you guys for joining us. Mike, go ahead and take us home.
Yep. We love you. We want to say thank you to Radiodabang always for doing the great things you do and allowing us to have this platform. So thank you for that. And for all of you that have been listening to the greatest podcast in America, thank you so much. Stay blessed. God bless America.